Good morning. And we're just going to do a short program this morning. I'm not even sure it's going to be a program, and I'm not absolutely positive I'm going to post it, but I'm going to do it. And it may only be 30 minutes and maybe less than that. Anyway, welcome to Who Am I? Who am I? Who am I? I just got back from a rather large vacation, and it gave me almost a month of interruption on my little show, and so it's been kind of a process working back into the timing about it and the the habit of it. It didn't help that yesterday it changed to daylight savings time, so my early in the morning, my 6 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden looks like 5 o'clock in the morning, and so it's been hard. In any case, I have also had a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm not always sure that I know the answers to stuff. And when I don't feel really clear about knowing what to say to the world, then also I step back and take a moment to reflect. Who am I? And that's what I'm doing this morning, so it won't be a full presentation. I'm going to, because I think it helps me, I'm going to do a really, really brief summation of my general gist, the general idea that I'm trying to put forth in this little Who Am I show, where I invite every one of us to ask that question: Who am I? Don't just assume that we know the answer, because we don't. And actually, the answer isn't a fixed, set thing. It's a moving target. Who am I? Who am I? Who are we? What is going on? What is the source of our suffering? And what will alleviate it? What will break us free? Or as I like to say, lead us out of the wilderness. The wilderness of this crazy, you know, for a number of years. It started maybe in 2007. Um, I became more politically aware. I had not been focusing in the political direction at all for my entire life. I was never political. I barely recognized the difference between the two parties. I, I sort of got to that point earlier. I mean, it's an exaggeration to say that I did not. And I had identified with a particular side, actually. I was an FDR Democrat all the way, or whatever. But I had never been particularly focused, and there, for a moment in time, for a few years actually, I focused in, and I really started paying attention to what people were saying, what was going on, what the current events, actions that were corresponding to. Um, it was just, I became more aware, more physically aware, more current events aware, more politically aware. And it led me to a place where I was starting to freak out in a kind of fear, because there is a truth to the direction that we appear to be marching. And depending on where you're focused, it actually is not good news. But also, depending on where you are focused, it is tremendously good news. But it's not necessarily politically good news. Politically, the news ain't all that good. However, spiritually, what's actually happening, the truth of the reality of the way things are moving on the ground, is actually, because every one of us has an inner being, because the universe is a vibrational thing, and because evolution really is occurring, because there is such a thing as universal consciousness, because the universe is learning about itself, when you realize that everything is always working out for you, and you have to open your um, willingness to allow the good to come to you. You've got to get big enough to allow the space for the well-being to actually get to you. You've got to not be focusing on, you think it's only going to come one way, and so you're keeping score, and when you don't see it coming that way, then you slam down your heart and you go, it must not be coming. Fact is it's coming, and you have to have a bigger imagination than that. You have to, that's how come a lot of spiritual teachers will advise you to let go of any attachment to the outcome, because the outcome is good and the outcome is to your benefit and it is to the greater uh, unfolding of it all. But if you're keeping score in only one particular way, like for instance, if your assumptions about abundance are that it only comes in the form of money, then you're sitting there staring at your bank account, not seeing any money, but at the same time completely missing all the signs where the cooperative components to your desires were being offered to you all over the place. Here, take this for free. Hey, look over here at this, and every one of them a cooperative component, the next step involved in an unfoldment of your plans and schemes and dreams and whatever, but you were only looking at money and you didn't see any in your bank account, and so you got disappointed. Instead of realizing how, oh, don't get me started. Actually, do get me started. We live in an absolutely marvelous universe, and that's what we need to focus on. Now, you can dial into the political arena, and if you have a particular setup in your mind about what you think success is or what you think failure is, and then you're looking at what's going on, you could get very discouraged. But if you're focusing on the whole universe with a recognition of things are always working out for me, somehow this is to the good. And I'll tell you how I think it's to the good. I think that the whole thing is serving as a visual aid to a recognition of us understanding who we really are. This negative thing is going to become so untenable, so distressing as you continue to look that way. You finally have to let go of it all if you want to maintain any kind of sanity. You have to let go of the whole thing, recognize that in spite of the fact that it looks like the situation on the ground looks like a certain party is driving us to World War III, to authoritarian psychosis, to fascism, even. There's all kinds of, I mean, if you really keep score of events on the ground, that's what it would appear to be. And to some extent, you're not wrong. You're not exactly wrong, but you're not seeing the whole picture. Because what's really happening is that all of this is screaming, 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 screaming an answer to the question, who am I? Which is the one that really must be answered. And know that this who am I question, it's got many, many answers. That those answers change all the time depending on how you're answering that question. You are in some sort of spirit. The spirit is really the answer, not all of this detail of the material stuff. That's just focusing on what we've got that we don't like. The fact of the matter is that this universe is vibrational, and you can't follow the outrage machine. I don't care how true it is. I don't care how true you could um, demonstrate to me all the horrors on the ground are. Excuse me. It is absolutely not the answer to focus upon the horrors, because there is a lot of other truth happening on the ground too. Remember my little show? The question is, who am I? And the reference is, who am I in reference to source energy, as in, what the heck is source energy? And who am I, and what are my resources to to address this horrific goings on in the material world? And you can focus on it in all kinds of ways, and point at the horrors. Look at what that political party is doing. Have you seen what's going on in the news today? Have you seen what these people are doing? And those people have lost their minds. And oh my gosh, all of these things must mean that everything is going to hell in a handbasket. It would seem that way. But that's not exactly what you're looking at. And the answer is to look bigger, to look wider, to look broader. I, uh, I, I, I often end my program with this little piece of information. I will go on for at least, let's see, I can have another 20 minutes at most. 20 minutes, and then I've got to take a pause. Whether I make it back after that pause, I don't know. But I often end this program with a little talk about cymatics. And the reason that I bring that one up is because it's a good visual to help us um, imagine how this is a vibrational universe and what to make of that. What do I do with that piece of information? As opposed to just going, isn't that interesting? Isn't that just, another one of those believe it or not kind of things? No, it's actually, it's very meaningful, because you have to understand um, your emotionals, your emotions are a an expression of aspects of your vibrational self. The way they feel has to do with the vibrational universe. You're feeling the universe in vibration and then responding to it. And that's your emotions. And what's happening, it's actually a byplay between your thoughts. Your thoughts produce your emotions, because your thoughts are relative to your inner being's thoughts, which are happening all the time. You don't have anything to do with that. In a way, it's happening. It is connected to the rest of the world. It is you. It is your higher self, your greater being is just doing that. And when you, specific you, take thoughts, there's a vibrational relationship between your thoughts and your higher self's thoughts. And that's what's actually producing your emotions. That's not necessarily what I'm going to talk about right now. I wanted to mention cymatics. And the reason I want to mention this is because the universe is changing. We live in a world, in a universe that is a morphogenetic field of Planck's, actually. Planck's vacuum fluctuations, these little Planck oscillators, these little infinitely tiny, not really infinitely, they have a particular size. It's not infinitely small, but they're really small. They're small because it's a wavelength, a frequency that you achieve the number of it by, you take a photon going at the speed of light, crossing its own diameter, excuse me. That's a very tiny particle going very, very small, going a very, very short distance, uh, going very, very fast. Very, very small, going very, very fast. Anyway, that's how you get to the Planck size. The universe is solid packed plasma, whatever, a divine plasma of this these plonks that are morphing into what looks like appearance, manifestations, it looks like stuff, it looks like matter. And this morphogenetic field, the one rule about it is that it is morphing. It's changing. It's changing from it looks like one thing and then it looks like another thing. And certain things go very slow, other things are moving quite fast. But the whole thing is morphing. It never stays the same. That's the one thing the morphing field does, is it morphs. And a little look at cymatics is going to help us understand how it does that. Actually, it's just a little thing that I can see, and I hope that I can help you see. So what is cymatics? It's the relationship between, it's the study of the relationship between vibration and form. So here I've got up, this is just something I captured from the internet. These are cymatic patterns, and they were created somehow from a digital device of some sort that when you pipe a vibration through, it produces a different pattern. And every vibration is going to produce a different pattern. It's really quite cool. Now, originally, cymatics was invented and studied by putting a granular medium upon a metal plate, or a plate of some sort. I guess it doesn't have to be metal, and then you pipe a vibration through it and you see how, oh, lo and behold, a pattern appears in the granular medium on top of the plate. And when you change the frequency, the pattern changes. When you increase the frequency, the pattern changes, but it becomes more complex. It's sort of the same pattern, adding complexity. And why is this understanding important? Because if you think about this moment in time, or any moment in time actually, but this moment in time, because that's where we are. We're at this moment in time. Very definitely what you can see is things in the field, patterns, old patterns that are still with us, other patterns that are new patterns coming into being. When looking at these metal plates and those cymatic patterns, when you increase the frequency or change the frequency and the pattern shifts, there's a moment between patterns where it looks like chaos. Some of the old stuff is still there, some of the new stuff is starting to form, but it's not fully there. Some of the old stuff is kind of there, but it's falling away. It looks like chaos, but it isn't really chaos. There is a coherence in the thing, and it all depends on what are you grasping and clinging at. If you are holding on to aspects of the pattern that are old, that are maybe still there but falling away, they're crumbling beneath your hands, you're feeling uncomfortable, aren't you? Old ways of doing things, old ways of keeping track of the abundance, or old ways of job selection, or ways to be. You're clinging to things they're kind of still there, but they're falling away, and you're getting. Or the better answer would be find the pattern that is coming into the field, and hold on to that one. Actually, the better answer is don't hold on to the form, because the form is changing, always changing, always changing. And if you are clinging to the form to be your stability, well, guess where that puts you? By the way, before I leave this screen, you can see in the upper left and lower right, those are cymatic patterns also, but they are in nature. And I show that because it's an illustration of how the universe really is vibrational. It really, really is vibrational. But When you're grasping and clinging to the form that is changing all the time, instead of understanding that your true nature is the formless field that is eternally there, that nothing can hurt, that is your higher self, and your specific self, this little body that you are inhabiting, that's just it's your temporal self. It's who you are in this moment. And this body is not going to last. You are going to lay it down and you're going to become something else. Your body is going to pass away, but you aren't going to. You are not your body. You actually are your higher self, and you are one with everything else. This right here, the five kleshas, that it comes from Buddhist philosophy, it's considered to be the root causes of all suffering. And all it has to do with is identifying with the wrong thing. You actually are source. You are the planks. You are, everything is made of that. You are a field phenomenon. You are one with everything. Your sense of separateness is, on the one hand, it's illusionary if you think that ultimately you are separate from everything else. But there is a truth to your separation, because you do possess something, a little quality that I like to call divine autonomy. It's a pet notion of myself. I've labeled it this divine autonomy. It has to do with the ability to man the center of your own or origination of spin, your own little divine individuation that you have. Your consciousness, the center of the center of the center of your being. And it is your separate, your individual center of your spin, but ultimately it lines up with all the rest of the spins. It lines up with the spin of your planet, it lines up with the spin of your sun, your star, your galaxy, the black hole at the center of your galaxy, the one at the center of your universe, or if there isn't one at the very center of the universe, the universe is still, there's, actually I think the universe is a black hole, so that's the one at the center of your universe, is the one that the universe is. The universe is a black hole. And all of your protons of all of your atoms and molecules is black holes. It's black holes all the way up, all the way down. They're all spinning. They all line up in this cosmic way. You are data and information flow all the way up and down this line. You are not alone, but you have a kind of autonomy that allows you to sort of create your own universe. Now, this universe that you're creating is being co-created at the same time with all the rest of all these spins. So don't get all alone feeling in that you create your own universe, because you are creating your own reality, but you are co-creating within a greater field. It's really cool the way the universe is. The amount of control that you have over your own experience and your own existence is quite significant. The control that you have lies in, I don't know why I brought this one up, because I'm not really talking about this. This is my representation of your two minds. The one on the left being your source mind, wide open aperture looking at everything. The one on the right being focusing in on a specific thing. And you can kind of see by that one how it looks like it's the center of a spin. You can almost imagine that closing aperture being a spinning aperture, because I see it that way. I think that's what it is. It's all spins. And the reason it's all spins is because everything is spin, because spin is fundamental. There is no expression of anything out of the Planck field morphing into any kind of experience that doesn't have spin with it, because spin is fundamental. As things come into being, they spin. And our understanding of this is going to bring us to a better realization of, well, it's going to bring us a better understanding of uh, gravity and um, gravity and well, and source energy. Our better understanding of gravity is going to free us from I'm kind of my own pictures are confusing me right now because they're causing me to want to explain them. Instead I'm just flashing through them in the background as I'm trying to keep my mind on, you know, the Holy Grail. This is the Holy Grail, and as soon as I speak the Holy Grail, then I'm going to leave because well, I'm going to pause at least for a second. um, the Holy Grail is through a better understanding of who we are and how this whole setup, this system of black holes all the way up and all the way down, and the Planck field, and spin being fundamental, all of this stuff is going to bring us to a number of things. Knowing who we are is going to make us way more peaceful on planet Earth. We're going to quit trying to pick fights with one another and point at each other and scream, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's all of our fault, by not knowing who we are, by not being plugged into source energy already. We're plugged into this vile fossil fuel crap, which is killing the planet and causing us to bump up against each other in a very uncomfortable way with our centralized power systems and our centralized um, geopolitical systems, all of the systems that we have. And and so our coming to an understanding of who we are and how this whole system really works is going to free us from all of that and really open up this universe of abundance that is just so crazy abundant that if we would turn that direction, all of our suffering would kind of fall away. The other thing it's going to lead us to directly in a physical way is freedom from gravity. And freedom from gravity is going to allow our major transportation systems to come up off of the surface of the planet and float around. You know, we'll be able to move goods and services and stuff around the planet without, I'm not talking about fossil fuel burning jets. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the UFO kind of technology that can zip our stuff around, and we can quit slathering the planet in concrete and asphalt and burning fossil fuels and all that. It's going to be a new world. It's going to be a better world. And I want this little program to help us find our way to that better world. I'm going to come back with a goodbye, a sign off here in just a minute. I'm just going to go say goodbye to my husband, who is leaving for a dental appointment. Well, hello, I'm back again for a minute. However, as I suspected it might, life is starting to, my day is starting to catch up with me, so I'm going to have to sign off for now. However, before I go, I just wanted to, actually, I shouldn't have said it that way at all, and who am I? That's a question we should ask every day. I do believe that the real answers to that will bring us everything that human beings are looking for to get ourselves out of the geopolitical, financial, um, all of our issues stem from us not knowing who we are. And with that, I'm going to leave us until tomorrow. I feel a little more energized and excited about that. I think this show is short, but it went well, and I will see you again tomorrow. Hopefully, I will have people listening. I don't always have people listening, but I have to pretend like I do. I'm always listening, and the universe is always listening. So that's the important part. So until tomorrow, may the source be with you.